What's up everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be testing Meet Kevin's video called The Death of the Emergency Fund. You might know Meet Kevin from his YouTube channel, which has over 1 million followers. Most recently he provided his net worth, which is well over $25 million. He provides valuable updates on topics like real estate, personal finance, stock market, stimulus, and even politics. When I saw the thumbnail, The Death of the Emergency Fund, I was very skeptical and I thought it was just clickbait. In this video, we'll be stress testing his 5 alternatives to the emergency fund, utilizing my own portfolio. Why? Because I'm not some rich YouTuber or real estate guru with a $25 million net worth. I'm just an average Joe. And as average Joe, we need to see if these scenarios work for us. First off, what is an emergency fund? Emergency fund is just 3 to 6 months worth of cash reserves. In the unlikeliness of a family emergency, a medical expense, a car accident, things of that nature, you can pull on these reserves to help you out. If you don't know what 3 to 6 months of your expenses is, then put it into a financial planner. Here I'm using Personal Capital. There's a little button called Emergency Fund in Personal Capital. It makes it very easy for you. It calculates all your expenses for the past 3 to 6 months and tells you what your emergency fund should be. If you look in the middle here, it says that my recommended emergency fund is $6,000 to $12,000. That's a pretty wide range, $6,000 to $12,000. So let's dive in. I just clicked the edit button for my monthly budget, and there it shows me what my average monthly expenditure is. If you look over here where my mouse is, it says my average is about $2,421. But as you can see in December, there was a $12,000 spend. That's a big outlier. So don't know what that is, but we're probably going to take that out of the equation. Let's just round it down to $2,000 as my emergency budget. Here I have highlighted that it says only need $12,000 to cover 6 months of expenses, and with the extra $6,000, I should invest it. Of course, this doesn't take into account that some of those savings is for my business taxes. So you know what? Personal Capital doesn't know everything. Okay, we're gonna put that number aside. $2,000 a month times 6 months, $12,000 for my emergency fund. Now we're gonna look at Kevin's 5 alternatives to an emergency fund. Number 1, no surprise here. Meet Kevin says he'd rather invest into stocks or index funds as he gets a higher rate of return. Number 2, Meet Kevin says he'd rather use a tax savings account, something like an HSA or 401k or traditional IRA, to hack the government, as he calls it, to save on taxes. I'm not going to get into the details of those tax savable accounts, but on a general level, if you have some sort of emergency, you'll qualify for a penalty-free withdrawal from those accounts. Number 3 is a real estate piggy bank. Meet Kevin does a lot of real estate. He says that he's paid off up to 50% of the mortgages. So if he ever has an emergency, he could tap into a HELOC, a private loan, or refinance to pull out some emergency funds from his real estate. The 4th alternative is borrowing from friends and family. He says this creates a psychological emergency fund in his head because he would never ask his friends or family. This is more of a proactive approach to always make more money. And his last alternative, number 5, is just tap into credit cards. He much rather use his credit card, which gives him 30 days to pay it back. He could tap into his other alternatives to pay back his credit card. He'd rather do that than have cash sitting around doing nothing. He's always in the mindset of having his money work for him, similar to myself. And here's where it gets interesting. He does say if you have credit card debt, you want to use your emergency fund to pay off your credit card debt first, which is contradicting a lot of other financial gurus who say, you know what, build your emergency funds first and foremost, and then pay off debt. He 100% disagrees with this, and that is what we're going to stress test today. Number 1, I fully agree with Meet Kevin here. Instead of having an emergency fund, you should utilize that to invest into the stock market, which average returns about 6 to 8% a year. Don't worry about taxes because you only get taxed on the gains anyways, and that's very minimal. Last year's Vanguard total stock market returned 20%. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to wake up and check stocks every day. Just put it into an ETF, set it and forget it. Number 2, a taxable savings account. For me, this is true and false. And the reason for that is because I've already maxed out my 401k and Roth IRAs. It's true because I have emergency funds in there that I can pull from. It's false because that would be taking allocations away from my FIRE goal. If you're part of the FIRE community, they definitely support having an emergency fund aside from your tax savings accounts. And what's funny is that in the FIRE community, they actually promote 1 to 2 years worth of emergency funds. None of this 3 to 6 month regular people stuff. We're talking about 1 to 2 years worth of emergency funds in case of a big market crash. And some even recommend 3 to 5 years. Number 3, the alternative is real estate. That for me is a false. If you don't have real estate like me, maybe you have some assets that are worth up to your 6 months of emergency fund. Let's check for me, shall we? I don't have any jewelry, but I do have some collectibles. Everyone's talking about Pokemon cards, but I got Magic cards. These puppies are worth 500 bucks each. Who wants them? I think this War Elephant might be worth $50, but he's cute, so I might keep him. So in Magic cards, I might have 2,000. In Pops, I might have 2,000 as well. This guy here is worth about $600 last time I checked. Might be worth more now. Bam. You see that? Stranger Kids. Yes, you see it. It's a Garbage Pail Kids with a Stranger Things collaboration. I think this is worth around $200. I have 2 sets of these. Unfortunately, we're still only at about $4,000, $5,000. We're not close to the $12,000 yet, but I do have some other things, like the camera I'm recording from. This is an M50. I just bought it brand new. It might be worth $500. Also, my lovely MacBook Pro. This one's a little bit old. It's 2016, I believe, but I might be able to get 500 bucks for that as well. All right, Fire community, don't crucify me. I got the new 12 Pro Max. This is not really an asset, it's a liability. I owe money on this, so let's put this away. Also got some fancy dancy pens. This is Cartier, this is ST DuPont, SJ, I have no idea. Anyways, you can sell some of these things. I think you get the point. You might not have real estate, but you might have some assets that in case of an emergency or a bind, you can sell them maybe at a discount and get funds immediately. You can't pull a HELOC out of it like real estate, but you might be able to get a private loan. You got a Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James rookie card? Heck, I'll take that. I'll loan you some money as long as it is PSA approved though. In all seriousness, don't take my advice. These things should not be emergency funds, but just a creative way to look at things. If you don't have real estate, you could have some things worth money lying around. Maybe you do have Pokemon cards. If you're female, you got purses and shoes. Those things are all worth money. In that way, I've created my own alternative to the emergency fund. Just have stuff. That doesn't give you a green light to go buy stuff. These are all things I purchased a long time ago before I joined the FIRE journey. Number 4 is borrowing from friends and family. And I must say for myself at least that I feel I have the personal credibility to borrow from friends and family. Would they lend me $12,000? And the answer is I believe so. That's not to put myself up on a pedestal, but I don't like to lie, cheat, and steal from my friends. I always try to add as much value as I can, give rather than take. Another interesting thing is because I have all this collectibles and stuff like that, I actually would not feel bad if I had to borrow money and I gave up collateral. That's a lot better than just borrowing money with nothing. Because you best believe if I give you Pink Batman as a collateral, I'm gonna pay you back. I want this thing back. Number 5 is using your credit card as your emergency fund. And I do agree here with Kevin that yes, I can use my credit card as emergency funds and that wouldn't really scare me at all. I have 30 days to pay it back. I have so many cards that I could do transfer balances between them and I wouldn't have to pay interest. I would pay a maximum 3 to 5% upfront cost. I'm a firm believer in paying off all your credit card debt. So I'm a firm believer that if you do have credit card debt, you shouldn't use that for emergency funds because that'll actually increase your interest rate on that card. Overall, in general, I would say yes, I agree with all 5 alternatives that Kevin's provide. However, with a caveat, you have to run your own personal scenario to make sure that these things make sense for you. Let me give you an example. In Kevin's video, he goes over a scenario where if you had your money in savings, you paid off your debt and had it in savings, or if you just invested it into your retirement account. I'm gonna do that same scenario, but with actual credit card debt that I have and with actual emergency funds that I have. As you saw in my personal capital, I had 18,000 in savings, 12,000, which should be for emergency funds. What personal capital didn't show you is that I also have $10,600 in credit card debt. And that's why I like Meet Kevin's video, because I had emergency funds. I wasn't sure if I should pay off debt or invest with it. So let's do the calculations together. In Meet Kevin's video, he talks about how you can get 2% on your savings. I don't know where he's getting that. I would love to enter into that savings account that he has. I don't know where that is. But let's just use his number for the same assumptions, shall we? Also in Meet Kevin's video, he's talking about how he's servicing his debt with about 7% a year. I don't know how he's getting away with just paying interest on that $5,000 debt. So at 7%, he's paying $350 a year on that debt. For me, because I can credit card churn or do a 3% transfer balance every single year, my debt servicing is only 3% a year. But I can't just pay off the interest. I have to make monthly payments because it's on a credit card. My monthly payments are about $188 a month. So if we plug this into a calculator, it will say that it will take about 60 months to pay off this debt in full. So let's give you a quick look at how that payment schedule looks like. We got a $10,600 credit card debt, 3% yearly interest. Base payment is $188 a month, which is my credit card minimums. So if we started today, it would take 61 months to pay off, and the month paid off would be in February 2025. Total interest that we would have paid is $840 in 5 years. Up above, you see the monthly payments. On the right, you're gonna see the balance go down, trickle down. And at the end of it, you'll see that by February 25th, it will go down to nothing. Okay, so 61 months, we're just gonna round it down to 60 months and see how that works inside our Excel spreadsheet. If we keep $12,000 in savings with a 2% interest rate, which is laughable, we come out with a balance of $13,248 at the end of 5 years. Now, at the end of 5 years, which is 60 months, we would have paid off our credit card debt of $10,600. We would have paid interest, of course, so our total is $11,280. Now that we have an extra $188 a month, let's put that same $188 a month, because we have no more debt, and put it into the savings account. Putting $188 a month for the next 60 months on top of what we already have in there brings us to a total of $26,367. Sounds like a lot of money, but let's take a look at our total contribution, which is $34,560. We contributed more than we got back. A quick formula here shows that we lost $8,193, which is not bad. And because we shaved off a little bit of loss. We would have lost $11,280 in total, but because we saved and got a small interest on our savings, we got a total of negative $8,193. Let's take a look at the next scenario. Okay, this is the no debt scenario. We paid off $10,600 in debt. We're left with only $1,400 in the savings account. Because we have no debt, we have an extra $188 a month to put into the savings account for the next 120 months, which is what, 10 years. If you look at our total contributions, we just add up three things. The $1,400 we started off with, the $10,600 we paid off immediately on our credit card, and the additional $22,560, which is paying $188 a month for 10 years straight. So here in year 0, we started with a much smaller balance, $1,400. However, we contributed $188 a month for the next 10 years. We end up with almost the same amount as if we didn't pay off our debt. So $26,400 at the end of 10 years. We saved a little bit of interest because we paid off the debt immediately. So we saved around $800 worth of interest. But that savings didn't equate to a compounded growth like I expected. It came out to be about the same. In this scenario, because you paid off your debt immediately, you're still at a negative $8,000 because you contributed more than you got back. So instead of putting the savings, let's do nothing different but put that $1,400 into the stock market along with the every single month, $188 a month for the next 10 years, and let's see what happens. By doing nothing different and putting it into an ETF versus a bank account, we would have made over $7,000 more than having it in a savings account. Major lesson there is savings account sucks, put it into an ETF or a mutual fund. In this scenario, not as bad. You're only down negative $637. You contributed $34,000, but because you were in the stock market, you made a little bit more money and you paid off your debt, but you're still down. And here's where it gets interesting. If we just took the $12,000, didn't pay off our debt at a lump sum in the beginning, invested the $188 along with the $12,000 into an ETF or mutual fund that just covered the total stock market with a 7% return a year, at the end of 10 years, we would have $36,500. Which is about $10,000 more than if you just had your emergency fund sitting in a bank. And in this last scenario, you're no longer negative. You contributed $34,000 and paid off your debt, and you have an extra $2,000 to show for it. This shows the power of compounding interest if you had a bigger sum in the beginning. I think the major lesson here is to invest your money. But that's only because my debt servicing is only 3%. If you're at like 7%, 15%, 17% credit card interest, you most likely have to change all these scenarios. And that's why it's very important to utilize these scenarios in your own data, to make sure that the plan works for you. I guess the answer for me, contradictory to Meet Kevin's scenario, is that I should use my money not to pay off my debt and put it all into the market. Because if I did pay off my debt, I'll start off with $1,400, which is not insignificant, but it's a much smaller amount to compound for 10 years. And because I like to torture myself, this is a scenario of what would happen if I had no credit card debt. I use my emergency fund to invest into the market, and at the same time, use the extra money I had, $188 a month, invested for 10 years, 120 months. That would give me a $20,000 profit. Lesson here, boys and girls, don't lend money to people, and also don't get into credit card debt. At the end of the day, I could have 10x my return if I didn't have any debt. Whoever wants to help out, I'll create a GoFundMe account. But don't feel sorry for me because my fiance has a $250,000 school loan that she needs to pay off. Let's not go into her scenarios. Actually, we should go into her scenarios another day. Feel free to subscribe and follow my journey if you want to see how we tackle that one, because that one is a very big elephant. There you have it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. Does the 5 alternatives to the emergency funds work for you? I definitely found some interesting strategies after watching Meet Kevin's video. I learned that I have some valuable collectible assets. I learned that I have credibility. I learned I have a lot of line of credit. I learned what I should do with my emergency fund. The question is what you should do with yours. That's it, everyone, for today's video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you learned something, please subscribe and like. Please share it with a loved one. If you don't have an emergency fund, don't worry. Get started today. I'll make more videos on how you can save money, earn money, and invest your money. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay prosperous. Peace.